Well, Memorial Day weekend turned into a messy one for thousands of travelers across the country.
And whether they like it or not, sure they don't like it, some travelers still stranded at their vacation destination. Over 7,000 flights were cancelled globally this weekend. More than 2,500 of those flights were cancelled here in the U.S. alone. Memorial Day weekend's generally the start of the busy summer travel season. However, there are now concerns over what's to be expected for the rest of the summer.
So let's bring in CBS News travel editor Peter Greenberg for more on this. Peter, welcome. Great to see you. So let's dive right in. What the heck happened? Why did so many flights get canceled over the holiday weekend?
Well, it was really a perfect storm between airlines already being overscheduled, airlines, airports, and the TSA being understaffed, then throw in weather, and then the actual number of passengers who are flying. Last week when we talked about this, I said, the average number of passengers, the highest number for the last year was about 2.3 million being processed through TSA security checkpoints. I said, if it goes over than that, you may have a system that may not be able to handle it. That's what we saw this weekend. And the real problem wasn't just the flights that were canceled. Delta canceled up to 10% of their flights, 16% of their flights were delayed. That was almost an industry average. The real problem was connecting flights. Because if the first flight was delayed, that's where people had real problems. They missed their connecting flights. There were no other options. They were stranded.
And we all know that stress and anxiety when there's a delay and you have a connection, it just makes a horrific travel day. But here's what's interesting. In some ways, we were lucky this past weekend because this Memorial Day traffic was expected to at least meet or exceed pre-pandemic levels. That didn't happen. We were still slightly below. I'm curious your views of why that is and why you think still when folks aren't traveling with the intensity they did before the pandemic.
Well, it's not about the intensity, it's about the cost of an airline ticket. It's gone up about 7% every 4 days since the beginning of the year, and that's compounded. So in many markets, the airfares have not just doubled, they've quadrupled, and we've reached a tipping point, let's say you're a family of four, where you literally can't afford that ticket right now, and that may stay with us through the end of the summer.
Ain't that the truth? We were just talking about how ticket prices have gone through the roof, and it really is causing some people to delay their plans. So, Peter, let's talk a little bit about the airline industry, because JetBlue is aggressively interjecting to prevent a merger between Spirit and Frontier Airlines. How would this potential merger, sort of affect the current state of the airline industry, and why is JetBlue so intent on not letting it happen?
Well, let's go back to the original idea, which was Frontier saying they wanted to merge with Spirit. That would have formed sort of a low-fare juggernaut that would have actually been a pretty good idea for consumers. Both of those airlines fly the same kind of planes. Their pilots are trained on the same kind of planes. Their mechanics are trained on it. They don't really overlap on that many routes. And then, out of left field, here comes JetBlue with an initial offer that was rebuffed by Spirit, and now they've actually started a hostile takeover. Why does JetBlue want Spirit? It's about scale. They want planes. And Spirit flies the same kind of planes that JetBlue does in many cases, and they have a lot of more other planes on order that will arrive way before any orders that JetBlue has. It's really about JetBlue being competitive in the international marketplace as they expand their routes. Now, the real problem right now is whether this will survive U.S. Justice Department antitrust scrutiny. And right now, it doesn't really believe that it's going to happen because already the U.S. Justice Department is opposing a JetBlue American alliance, which they already announced. So the jury's still out.
Well, I do know that consumers would like to see some lower ticket prices. So anything that helps that, I'm sure would be welcome from the consumer perspective. Peter Greenberg, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Peter.